In this section, let's discuss Vue's lifecycle. So far, for every Vue demo, in the script part, we create a Vue instance using syntax new Vue. In this example, I assign this instance to a variable called VM. Now, VM means Vue model. It is the VM in MVVM pattern. From now on, I will use VM as the default name of the Vue instance on a page. But have you ever wondered what happened behind the scenes? In other words, how does Vue instance get ready to provide us with all the fancy features, for example, reactivity? So let's take a look at its lifecycle. The picture is very long. We'll continue on next slide. Here is the flowchart that describes the activities of Vue's lifecycle. The green boxes represent actions Vue is performing. An orange diamond is if-else, so true, false. And the red bordered boxes are very important. They represent stages or states in the lifecycle. Vue provides a hook function for each stage. So when Vue is in this stage, before create, hook function gets called. When Vue is in created stage, a hook function is called. So let's briefly walk through the stages in this chart. First step, after we use new Vue syntax, is Vue will init events and lifecycle. Then Vue will move to before create state. Now in here, before create is a very initialization of the Vue instance. The web page has not been made reactive yet. Then Vue will init injections and reactivity. Is that Vue will add all the properties found in this case here. We only have one property message. Vue will add this property in its reactivity system. So if I change it here, Vue can detect it. But now we haven't mounted this Vue instance to this gray area. And that is down in the later part, in mounted. After created, Vue will search for, do we provide an EL option? It turns out, yes, we do. We have an EL equal to ABP. Now this one means that we're going to mount the current Vue instance to this HTML element. Or in other words, we're giving this gray area to Vue and let Vue to update. Okay, we're gonna go yes. Has template options? We don't have a property called template, so we're gonna go to no. So what happened is Vue will compile ELs. Now this EL refers to this gray area, outer HTML as template. And then we're entering the mounting stages. So we have before mount and mounting. There are two stages in mounting stages. What happened is we're gonna create vm.$el and replace EL with it. After this stage, when Vue moves from before mount to mounted, then these two parts has been connected. So we both have access to the data here and also all the div h1 in this gray area. So the mounted part is very important because we'll be there for a long time. Among all those stages, there are two that are very important. One is created and one is mounted. In the hook function of created, what we can do, we means developers, is we can use Ajax to fetch data from remote server and gather data ready. Because when Vue is in created, we have access to this data. So it's a good time to populate this data. And once it's mounted, Vue will automatically update this in Vue. In other words, display it in Vue. And this can be done automatically. We don't have to worry about it. This is the next picture. After mounted, we'll be in this cycle here. Vue is monitoring all this data here. If there's a change, then we have before update, then we re-render the DOM, we change it, and then we'll be in updated stage, and we'll continue, go on and on forever. We also can explicitly destroy the Vue instance by using vm.$destroy. What happened is we'll be first in, go from mounted to before destroy stage, and then we'll tear down all the watchers. If you remember that we can create watchers and a lot of other stuff. We're going to tear down or destroy all of them. Child components, we haven't talked about components. We'll talk about this in next lecture. And event listeners. And after this one is done, and then move it to destroyed, then the instance is destroyed. So that's the entire life cycle of Vue. Just remember that Vue provides a hook function for each stage. So we can add our custom code inside. So for example, we want something to be done when Vue is in created stage, and we want something to be done when Vue is in mounted stage. So next, I'm going to show you a demo in VS Code, because talking about this is kind of dry. I'm in 13 Vue Lifecycle.html. In here, I'm going to show you all the hook functions. Remember, I said Vue provides a hook function for every stage or every status. Here is how we define a hook function. Before create, created, before mount, mounted, before update, updated, before destroy, and destroyed. All those hook functions. And you can include the logic inside each hook function. And here, I only call a function called show data. So let's take a look at the definition of show data. In show data, I pass two arguments. One is a string, so this string will be printed as is. And the second one is this. Make sure that you guys know that all the hook functions are defined inside this Vue instance. So this, the keyword this, refers to the current instance. So we're passing the current instance, the Vue instance, to this function. We're going to scroll down. This is the show data. In show data, we're going to print a lot of things on the console. We're going to print a message, so we know which hook function prints it. Is it before create or created? Then we're going to print the data, vm.message. Okay, so let me scroll up. Now remember, it's kind of hard to scroll up and down, so I'm going to split. In my data part, I have a message property. So remember VM is the name of this instance. So vm.message will print whatever the message is, for example, hello world or something. Also, we're going to print the mounted object. Now remember, the second step is Vue instance will search for an option called EL. In this case, EL points to app, or this one. We're going to mount this Vue instance to this HTML element. By printing vm.$el, we can print this entire div. Okay. All right. Inside show data, I also called print real DOM. Okay, so let's look at what is print real DOM. In print real DOM, I'm going to use native.js document.getElementById app and print its inner HTML. So in this case, we're going to print this curly brace message. All right. So for every hook function, we're going to print the same set of data to see if there are any differences. Okay, now I'm going to close this. And I'm going to refresh. Nothing happens here because we're going to open F12 and monitor the console. Okay, let me scroll up. So before create function will be called first. This is the show data of before create. So let me scroll down. You can see what happened in show data. First, we print this line here, and then down here, we print the end line. So everything in between is printed by before create. So before Vue instance is created, the data is undefined. So that means when Vue instance is in before create, the data is not attached yet. We do not have access to the data we defined in data object. Now, if we print mounted object, it is also not defined because we haven't mounted the current Vue instance to the div with id equal to app. We have no access to data. We have no access to the HTML. If we print the real DOM, that's fine because here we're using native.js. You can use native.js in any stages. And we print message because that's the inner HTML in div with id equal to app. Okay, next. When Vue instance moves from before create stage to created, now here are the outputs. As you can see, in created, now we have access to data, it's hello world. But we still don't have access to the mounted object because in created, we haven't mounted the Vue instance to the div with id equal to app. And if I print the real DOM, it is still message. So we cannot do the update or it's not reactive yet. All right. Next, let's look at before mount. In before mount, we have access to data, no problem. And look here, we have access to the mounted object. But if we print the real DOM, we still haven't done reactivity because we print message, not hello. All right, last but not least, we're in mounted. Now, this is a very important stage. Once Vue is in this stage, we're ready. We're ready to do everything. So we have access to data, we have access to this mounted object, and guess what? This is no longer pure curly braces, but this one gets parsed by Vue instance, and Vue will replace this with the current value, hello world. Okay, next, let me show you before update and updated. Uncomment this, and I will refresh. After mounted, we have a before update and updated because After we create this Vue instance, I update the value of message from hello world to good ... Before update will be called and updated will be called. So as you can see, before update, the mounted object has already changed, so it's already reactive, but the real DOM has not been changed. But in updated stage, both are consistent. Next, I want to show you what happens when I explicitly destroy this Vue instance. So I'm going to comment out this and uncomment this and refresh. In this case, after mounted, before destroyed hook function will be called, and after this, destroyed hook function will be called.